Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to Adrian Maizey, who's on our advisory board for M2MMA. Good to finally catch up with you for a chat. You're over in LA. How's everything going over there?
Fantastic. Nice to spend some time with you, and thank you. It's very nice here in LA, midday.
So as we know, Jeff is an absolute character and a very smart man. How did you meet him?
He was stalking me for lack of a better word, in South Africa with the opening of our new Starbucks stores back in, I think, as early as 2021-22. And he was thoughtful enough to reach out and actually asked us all about our business. And that led to a follow-up conversation. We got talking about how we can be better at what we do. And Jeff has a very deep interest in coffee, in food, in sensory type experiences, and he's sort of a connoisseur of coffee shops around the world, where he spends a lot of time talking to people about his ideas. And although I live in LA, I'm in South Africa quite frequently. And every time I was there, we'd spend time together chatting in shops about how the stores could be run better, how we could do things better, how we could be the best of the best in anything we try to put forward and drive. And that's where the commonalities start to arrive. And we discussed what he was doing, and it just grew from there.
So you've got more than 70 Starbucks chains in South Africa, is that correct? You went to Harvard Business School. You know what you're talking about when it comes to coffee, I would imagine.
We have 75 stores as of now in South Africa. When we took over the business, there was 13, and that was in late 2019, 3 months before COVID. So we've grown quite rapidly during this very difficult period. Yes, did go to Harvard for what that's worth. Have no idea how I got in, but it was certainly a life-changing experience. It was quite fundamental to my, not necessarily my training, but my network and connections and the path that it put me on from that point forward.
You're a great asset to our advisory board. We've got some unbelievable personalities and experience on that board. What drew you to the project?
It was really the conversation that I had with Jeff and the interest in what he was doing. Throughout my life, I've tried to align with people that I felt were exceptional. When I mean exceptional, not anything that's not mediocre is somewhere you really want to be. And then within that range, there's the pointy end of the I guess the pointy end of the pack, and that's where you really want to set yourself. And the conversations with Jeff were always intriguing. I like the way he thought big. And that's really where the interest came from. It's like, okay, he doesn't tolerate mediocrity. He doesn't tolerate or suffer any fools. And that will lift me up, because I clearly thought myself of a fool. So how can I be better? Surround myself with smarter people.
What do you like about M2MMA and where it's going, or the potential?
It's again, the concept of thinking about and being disruptive to an industry, thinking outside the box and applying technology to a fairly old sector, right? Sports, fights, and then applying data to that and thinking things and leading with technology and the athletes' health coming first. I think that's quite a unique angle, and in a world where we're leaning towards, and technology is certainly driving medical advances, and clearly technology is deep into sports in performance. This will enhance the performance as we understand athletes' behavior and their responses. And alongside that, you're building on the blocks that will prevent and protect them in the environment in which they operate.
You're a businessman at the highest level. I could certainly learn a lot from you. You've also done more than 20 Ironmans, ultra marathons. What is that like mentally? How tough have you got to be, and how has that helped you be the guy you are today?
That's honestly an easy one. I tell my kids this all the time, but the sports angle, the suffering that you learn from competing in endurance events is made me understand what I can mentally and physically endure. And you'll be quite surprised how robust your body and your mind is. And through that, the discipline that came from a young age as being a really young athlete, as in my below the age of 10, building to where I am now today, just applying oneself daily, the compounding value of learning and experience and knowledge pays off dividends over time. And there's no better time to start than today, because it's all about time and compounding value thereof.
Never done a marathon. I did one amateur fight last year in Muay Thai and I lost, but it was actually one of the best days of my life. So it really resonated with me, the idea that discomfort is good. Would you say that is kind of overarching for everybody, putting yourself in difficult situations?
Yeah, I mean, what doesn't kill you makes you better. I think that's an age-old saying, and it's true. You don't know what you can achieve without applying yourself, and through that suffering process, you realize that your limits are far further out than you ever imagined. So you've got to go through those learning experiences. Your children have to fall and scrape their knees to learn not to fall, and it'll hurt. But that's how you grow up and be better and stronger and advance, and then learn not to fall, and so on and so on. So the value that comes from being outside of your comfort zone is invaluable.
How do you feel about combat sports? What intrigues you there?
I grew up watching more of a Mike Tyson era than the current era, obviously by my age. But other than I was fascinated as a child. My dad was a boxer actually, and when I say boxer, he boxed as an amateur as a youngster, and so we were always very fascinated with the sports. And contact sports, whether it be football, NFL, American football, or anything of that nature. Look, it's tough. It's hard on you. And rugby, I'm a huge rugby fan. I just enjoy it. And I think, I'll go back to your specific question, which was, sorry, what about it is interesting? I love watching it. What was your question there?
It's the spectacle, man. It's the spectacle for me. And it's interesting. I think there are similarities really with stepping into the ring and doing distance running. It's all about the mental side, as is most elite sport. I hear that you guys have had some pretty epic experiences, Kilimanjaro, and what's been a highlight for you?
Yeah, so Kenya, you'll speak to Chris McCormack at some point, but he recruited me to cycle across Kenya with him in 2024. And that was far more difficult than one can imagine. The infrastructure is lacking, for lack of a better word. Sleeping in tents, no bathrooms, no showers, no water, no running water. Everything was shipped in. We were filthy, for lack of a description, by the end of that. But it was one of the best experiences I've had. And it is, to your point of suffering and discovering your limits. I like hot running water and working toilets or bathrooms. It turns out you can actually have a good time without them. So that was quite the experience.
Yeah, Chris, we're very lucky to have on our board as well. I'm excited to chat to him. What does he bring to the M2MMA table?
Yeah, Chris is one of the most ambitious people I've ever met. Early on, we met, I think, in about 2015, and his desire to be best in class, which is clear in what he's accomplished in his athletic career, but to do that subsequently, and he's applied himself. For someone who was a lengthy athlete, meaning he'd been in the sport for a long time and didn't come out at a very young age, he has made quite an impact in the business world, and I think his acumen is quite impressive. But that is also comes from years of discipline, applying himself to whatever he has interest in, and I find that to be quite inspiring. And I think that's what he brings to this environment. He's basically his ambition and drive to be best.
Jeff's knowledge of AI is fascinating to me. What are your thoughts on where we're going and how useful data is in sport and for business?
I mean, data, I'm a data person per se. I can't say I'm at the level that Jeff is at, but I sit and analyze data all day long. And I think for anything at scale, it's fundamental. I think it's very difficult to make decisions with right information. And AI has come along and made that decision making and the gathering and sorting of information far more practical for the average individual. But for individuals like Jeff, it goes next level because you can hand them the right information. You can provide them with the resources that they need to make the right decisions or the best informed decision at the point in time. And each decision is a fork in the road. And hopefully you keep taking the right fork, whether it be left or right, but you know what I mean? You end up in a better position over time, which will advance sports, advance medical uses and technology, and overall end up with a better commercial outcome as well if you're on the financial side of that.
I'm excited to get over to the UAE soon and hang out with the guys. It's a great place for this company to be. Have you had much experience working there, and how excited are you by what's happening over there?
But generally speaking, we work remotely, but I know Jeff is extremely excited about it, and I surround himself with a fairly ambitious group of individuals. So don't know too much about the on-the-ground operations there, but my knowledge is specific to South Africa and the years past.
What's the best piece of business advice anyone's ever given you?
It's a really good question. I've actually never thought of that in a sense of that question, but my own advice to myself has always been, just do the best you can. Be better today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you were today, and the compounding value of that will end up in a better outcome. So be as informed as you can. Make use of your time, and certainly you'll be a better version of yourself tomorrow. It applies to all the business, all parts of life, not just the business side. And over time, that does compound, and you certainly will have a better outcome than you would if you hadn't applied yourself on a daily basis consistently. There are certainly people that get lucky, and those will be outliers. But in the absence of extreme luck, I think that methodology or belief system will always lead to a better outcome for you. What
drives you? How do you stay disciplined?
I got to believe it's innate. I don't really pursue money. Money provides comfort in the sense that from a security perspective, but it's my internal drive to be better than I was before, the best version of myself. I'm acutely aware at 51 that I'm running out of time, which may sound ridiculous for somebody who's 60 as an example, but you certainly become aware of your mortality and how much time you have left. And I wanted to see what I can achieve in my lifetime. And I've always wanted to do that. And so I'm acutely aware of that you have to put your mind to work. And if you're wasting time having a good party, you're not going to deliver or you're not going to reap the rewards or see what you could become. And I think that's important to me. It may not be important for everybody else, but that drives me.
It sounds quite grandiose at times when we say at M2MMA we could save lives, but for sure we can. And if you look at where combat sports is, it seems to be way behind the NFL in terms of concussion protocols and the way that we utilize data and tech. How far or how excited are you by where M2MMA can go with Jeff and the team that he's assembled?
I think you're right. I think the sport and all sports can certainly do a lot better with the advancement of technology and applying that to combat sports. How far this goes is about time, how much time we have, and the application of resources to get there. I think I can't really speak to actually what that looks like in the end, because every day looks different from the day before. But I certainly know it will be better than it is today, and I think that must at least be the outcome, is to keep applying yourself and see where it ends up. But I couldn't give you a tangible, concrete position as to what that will look like 20 years from now.
And I'm the other guys on the board. Do you know Stephenson as well? Like, what kind of a guy is he?
Yes, like Chris McCormack, extremely ambitious. All these ex-pro athletes. I was recently in Zurich with them, and I will tell you, I've not worked into a room with that many world champions and current and defending and former world champions for a long time. And it reminded me that not to surround yourself with mediocre people. And as much as that offends a lot of mediocre people, the truth is those that are world champs are inspiring, and they're such as a reason. I would go to the gym and they're all there working out extremely hard, and they've got all the money in the world, especially the current world champions in these very high-end sports. And the way they speak about what they desire to achieve and how they will apply themselves and how they are applying themselves, nothing comes for free and nothing comes easy in this world. And if you think it does, you're going to be sadly disappointed in your outcome in life. And it was super inspiring to see Stephenson and Macca and everybody they pulled together to be at this event. And I walked away very inspired to be around those individuals and of their pedigree.
Your life has been quite impressive thus far. What's on the bucket list?
Well, we just closed. Well, and thank you for that. It's all relative, and of course, to position. Meaning, what I mean by that is, I wish I'd achieved a lot more. So that's what I'm trying to explain. But I appreciate you saying that, and I should own it at some point. We just closed on Oakberry acai, which as much as it's not a global brand, it certainly is the largest player in the acai market in the world. And for us as South Africans, although I'm sitting in Los Angeles, to now get the rights to all of Texas, and it's myself, I feel quite proud of that opportunity, and who knows where that will lead us to next. But as Starbucks led us to this opportunity, this may lead us to another opportunity, and I'm quite proud of having achieved that.
What's the most important thing about M2MMA in terms of, all the best intentions in the world into making it into a good business, into making it make sense?
Could you repeat that?
What's the most important thing regarding M2MMA? We've got fantastic concepts. We're developing really good ideas, but how does it work as a business, do you think, just in a broad sense? How do you make a startup work when you've got great people, great ideas?
You got to show a viable product, right? I mean, Apple always makes that comment, but without, or historically with Steve Jobs, but if you don't have an example of how it can be applied, and then, so what okay, we'll have to back up here on this, but yeah, take it into the real world. So you've got theory and ideas, and then actually converting it into an example of where it works and getting someone to back you. I think that then converts to some level of commerciality, but it does take a little bit of luck, a little bit of position at the right place, and convincing people on, to your point, on storytelling. You can create the right commercial outcome. You are solving a need, and at the end of the day, where you create values, you solve a need, and you solve a need in a way that wasn't solved before, more efficiently or at a greater level. And I think that's quite clearly the path that we're on, and I think they'll be quite successful at that.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Adrian. I hope we get to see each other at a show soon. Let's see what the future holds, but it's exciting.
Thank you very much, and thanks for your time.